Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Hello, Bud W. Bud wants to know what time we're starting now. So, hope all is well, Bud. Thank you for joining us. We have our good friend Anthony Crooks from Bleacher Bums Gaming, and also the creator of Glory Days Boxing. We're going to chat a little Glory Days Boxing and other things. And Anthony, the new supplemental set, first supplement set is out. Absolutely fabulous. I love it. I had the PDF. I picked up the printed. Came Monday. My God, did they come quick? And I have to put them into. I usually put them like with this set because the other ones are already in weight class order. But this one I'll put in weight class order. And it's a fabulous set. And Anthony, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours, my friend.
Pleasure as always, my friend. Yeah, first of all, I'm really surprised. It's nice that the post office is back to normal in terms of shipping now.
Unbelievable how quick.
Because yours, I think I sent out Friday or Saturday.
Yeah,
Friday.
I had it Monday. And on the prior set that I ordered, but I mean, there was weather. They had the tornadoes or was it the tornadoes or the floods in Texas?
In Texas, yeah. That's
I didn't get those literally till a month, almost a month after. But fabulous set, and so happy you're joining me here. And we got a few more people in the chat. We have Alan Griggy. Hope all is well, my friend.
What's up, Alan?
Sean D. Hello.
Sean D. from Rob exclamation point channel, and our good friend Matt.
Our AKA Matt, Steeler fan 1933. Hope all is well. So, Anthony, the floor is yours. Tell us about tell us about your channel, which I know everyone should know what your channel is. But again, link provided for Glory Days Boxing, sidelinestrategies.com. If you want to check it out, I suggest you do so. If you like tabletop sports, it's an absolutely fabulous game. If you're a boxing fan, it is a must purchase. And also Bleacher Bums Gaming, that's Anthony's YouTube channel, link provided in the chat and on the page.
And Al is my best hype man. Yeah, this set, like we were talking a little bit before.
Yep.
I was real reticent about doing a set of junior fighters initially. Initially, the only plan was to do the original 8-weight class.
I remember that, yeah.
And, a couple of people asked, and then a couple more. And, the more I thought about it, I'm like, we're missing. I had rated a few juniors up, like Mike McCallum as a middleweight, as an example. Yep. But, in a way, it was kind of doing a disservice to those guys because, McCallum had much more success as a junior.
Yeah.
And he was a dominant fighter as junior. Aaron Pryor, he fought exclusively at junior welter, and it was kind of a crime to leave him out. And actually, to me, the junior welter group, the 20 fighters in the junior welters,
fabulous.
To me are the crown jewel of the set. So many great fighters that fought pretty much exclusively there. Dulio Loy, of course, Nicolino Loche, probably one of the best defensive fighters ever. Pryor, it's a really, really Ricky Hatton. Obviously fought at welter, but he was better at junior welter.
Yeah, he was better at junior welter. Yeah.
So a lot of really solid fighters in that division, and some fun matchups. And what I like about it is, with the other original 8 sets that are out so far, you have a wide variety of fighters. Obviously all the good ones, but you got some bums in there. Along these 4 junior divisions, the competition is pretty stiff in terms of talent. There's not a huge gap between the worst and the best in each set of 20. So.
I have to say that makes it a fun set. I know people like to have that, and you do have, if anyone is watching and hearing about Glory Days Boxing for the first time now or later on, there is a free set of quote-unquote tomato cans. So if you want to try to build up a fighter's record, if you want to do sort of a career mode, you can do it. Those are mostly fictional fighters. I think there's a few actual tomato cans. And again, anyone who steps in the ring, where it's a little joke. They're still getting in the ring,
There's 4, actually 5 or 6 real fighters in there, and then I did kind of an homage to the video game Punch Out from the 80s, like there's a Joe Glass in there who's
Yeah.
obviously just Glass Joe, and
Yeah.
and a guy that's based on Bald Bull. So I had a little fun with that set, and actually too.
Someone in the community, I can't run on the Facebook. Oh, I forgot to put the Facebook page link in there. I'll do that later. Someone in the community actually did a tournament. It was fun to follow with the free set of
tomato cans.
It was actually, because you have no clue who's going to win that. You have no clue. They're all pretty much the same. And I'll tell you, that's what good matchmaking is about. I remember just watching, say, Tuesday night fights on USA, and they bounced around Tuesday, Thursday, once around Friday. And you had the ESPN fights. And sometimes I don't have to see quote unquote world-class fighters, top 10. I just have to see evenly matched pugilists, and you get a fun fight. And with this supplement set, they're all evenly matched. I mean, even a 6 against an 8 has a chance of winning or being competitive. Great set. And all of them are great sets, but this one, you can do so much with this one because you have the junior set. You can have someone, however you want, step up in weight like I did. I had Chavez. Well, he did fight at junior welterweight, but I had his lightweight card, and I just adjusted it slightly because he was a very good junior welterweight. But it's, however you want to do when you step up in weight. But it's so much fun. There were so many, like you said, junior weight class fighters who were really good, but predominantly they fought in these junior weight classes. They were tweeners. They didn't really step up or step down because they couldn't make those weight classes. It must have been tough to whittle it down. Was it tough to whittle it down? Like the junior welterweights, was it tough?
That was tough. And I took a lot of feedback from the community, and for junior welters, I had a list of fighters well above 20, and there's obviously guys you have to include like Loche and Pryor, and obviously you've got to put Arturo Gotti and Mickey Ward in there.
I was happy you had Ubaldo Sacco.
Well,
fighter. He was a good fighter.
He was a very solid fighter. Ubi was, he was a top guy.
Him and Gene Hatcher had a couple little bloodbaths.
Yeah, and Gene Hatcher, you mentioned him. He was one because of that. I mean, an amazing fight with Johnny Bumpus. Bumpus absolutely boxed his ears off for the entire fight, and then he caught him with this wild hook in the last round.
That was the night. The night before. That was the fight before Mancini lost his first fight to Bramble in Buffalo. I watched that on Channel 20, which was an independent channel. And they would have fight nights on Friday once a month during just before summer, before the Mets would come on, or spring, whatever. And that could have been in the fall. I could get mixed, but it was on Channel 20 when I watched it. And I remember going, wow, Gene Hatcher just upset Johnny Bump City Bumpus. And there was like a mini riot in the ring after that because they didn't think the fight was supposed to be stopped. And then Mancini would lose to Bramble in the main event, but it was a fun fight card. Gene Hatcher, what I remember, unfortunately, of Gene Hatcher, he got a welterweight title shot against Lloyd Hunnigan, and I thought Hunnigan killed him. I think he hit him with an uppercut, and Hatcher didn't move. I was like, oh my God. So
Hatcher, he's one of those guys you talk about in matchups. He's like Troy Dorsey,
Yeah.
Always going to make an exciting fight, but he's just going to take a ton of punishment. Tough guy, but not too skilled.
Bud W has a great fight right here because I thought about this one myself. Bud W says, I think I will fight O'Neal Bell versus Holyfield at cruiserweight. That is a fun fight. And if I can quickly find those cards, I'm going to tell you why. And I have the PDFs in order, so let me grab those real quick. But that is a very fun fight, Bud W. And because I actually
right here.
Excellent. Oh, okay. Mine was I have Holyfield and Nate Miller, which is another to me fun fight because Holyfield is 9-starred. Nate Miller is 8-starred, and the power. I like power matchups. What's the matchups you like to look for? I love power.
Everybody loves knockouts. Another good test for for Holyfield at cruiser is Juan Carlos Gomez. He was
yes,
he could bring
Juan Carlos Gomez. A lot of good cruiserweights were kind of made fun of for a while, but I kept going. There's a lot of good fighters at cruiserweight. They just didn't get respect.
You know, well, and it's really a tweener division. Leroy Murphy there too has some pretty good pop. That would make you know. There's cruisers. Cruisers to me are fun. Again, they're kind of it's like a catch weight almost, but they have, to me, they have a lot of them have the speed. They're quick,
the power.
like heavyweights with the power of heavyweights. So you can make a lot of fun fights.
When the cruiserweight division sort of got serious, it wasn't those guys who were just like blown up heavyweights anymore. Like they had guys who legitimately they couldn't make heavyweight, or if they did, they weren't going to be as competitive. And you saw just good fights. Even Piet Krause.
Yeah.
Again, not an elite fighter, a very good cruiserweight. South Africa. Was there any thought of doing Dwight Muhammad Kwai at cruiserweight?
Not. He was a fairly easy cut, only because he was already light heavyweight.
Yeah, right.
So you know, like I mentioned, when we go back, next supplement set I do after flyweights, I'm gonna do probably half of the fighters who fought in multiple weight classes. Maybe not that many, but it's a significant number of fighters who fought in other weight classes and then their primary, so they're included as well. Yeah, so I do get a lot of requests for that.
Well, there's a lot of because what's great about your game, it's brought together a lot of boxing fans, some people who have forgotten about the sport for a while, and I want to say our good friend Matt, Steeler Fan 1933, was one of those people. The game is so much fun, Anthony. If you enjoy sports Sims games, it's so much fun. And if you're a boxing fan, for me, I can visualize whether I'm streaming it or not, and I do play-by-play, or blow-by-blow, whether I'm streaming or not. Teresa will come in and go, who are you talking to? Me. But it's so much fun. I love the game. Bud W says Sal Marciano and the ESPN fights were great. Frank the Animal Fletcher. Frank the Animal Fletcher was one of the best TV fighters. When I say, I hope people understand when I say TV fighters. What a TV fighter is a fan-friendly fighter, offensive-minded, I would say. Not the best defense. Could pop a little bit, and they're going to give you rounds, but they're going to be in fun fights. I'll put it this way. If you give me I know Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the greatest pugilists of all time. But if you gave me Frank the Animal Fletcher and Curtis Parker banging it out against a Floyd Mayweather fight.
How about Fletcher against Roldan?
Oh, I felt so bad for Frank the Animal Fletcher because I really did like him, and he was on TV a lot. And I remember when he fought Scipion.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, he's going to beat this guy. I had seen Scipion fight on one of those. Again, this was before we might have just got cable TV, but whatever. I'd seen Scipion, and he could be not lazy's not the right word because he trained hard. He always was in shape. Disinterest, like lose focus. Focus, right? And I'm like, oh, Frank's going to get it. I liked Hagler. I like Marvin Hagler, obviously, but I'm sitting there going, I love Frank the Animal Fletcher. And I'm sitting there going, Frank Fletcher's going to get a title shot, you know, and he lost that. Scipion was not disinterested in that fight. He fought very well in that fight. And then Fletcher lost to Roldan and then Mugambi, or Mugambi, then Roldan. No, Roldan first, then Mugambi. But he's like, he's like one of those shooting stars. Yeah. Not a big puncher, physically strong, could punch a bit. Like I said, not a big puncher. Was going to bring the pressure. He's a Philly style, Joe Frazier type fighter. And he had about 20. Okay, he was 18 and something. So like 22 good fights in him.
Like 18 and 6.
Yeah, and then he got out at the right time when he got out. He knew he was done. And his mother was nuts God bless his mother. His mother was insane at ringside. She'd be up screaming, "Come on, Frank." I think she would jump in the ring, maybe,
Very similar to Kenny Bogner, who was also the same type of fighter.
Yep.
And also had crazy parents.
Kenny Bang Bogner.
Yeah, his mom threw her shoe at a referee one time.
I believe it. That's Kenny had a bright, again, great TV fighter, tough guy, had a bright future ahead of him, and I want to say he got caught burglarizing, if I remember correctly.
He's had he's had drug issues,
yeah.
And I actually see him on social media here and there, but
people might not know. I could get this wrong, but I think he holds an 8-round decision over Livingstone Bramble, or a 6. I think it was an 8-round decision.
Or Bramble stopped him.
Oh, Bramble stopped him. Okay. But Kenny was a good fighter, good TV fighter. I mean, you're gonna have fun. Robin Blake. I'm so happy you put Robin Blake in this. Remember I kept pestering you about Robin Blake. Put Robin Blake. Give me a Robin Blake, Clark. Robin Blake, he was always on TV, it seemed, and he was a good fighter. Was he? He caught his bad break when he was, and again, he probably wasn't going to beat Arroyo anyway because he lost later on to him. But you never know if he fought him at that time period. And Blake hurt his hand. No, I remember now. Arroyo stepped in. He was supposed to fight Jimmy Paul, which he did later on and lost. Blake hurt his hand, I believe. Arroyo stepped in and upset Jimmy Paul. And I'm messing that up because he fought Paul for the. Anyway, he had a couple of bad breaks.
Yeah, no, but he was a staple on those Tuesday night fights, and a gatekeeper kind of guy. If you can beat Robin Blake, you might be a top contender.
Boom Boom was an action fighter. Again, a guy who only had so many fights in him. The way he fought, the thing with Ray Boom Boom Mancini, he had the ethnicity, and at the time, boxing, and it still is, but not to the extent, I don't believe, was a very ethnic sport. So if you had an Irish guy fighting an Italian guy, like if Sean O'Grady and Ray Boom Boom Mancini, who really don't like each other, had actually fought, they would have made a lot of money. But they never, I don't think to this day they like each other. And I don't know what caused that, but they do not like each other.
Which is kind of crazy because separately they're both pretty likable guys.
Yeah, but they really, I remember watching something go, holy crap, these guys really, like I saw something, they really don't like, they didn't say anything horrible. They're just like, you could tell they didn't like each other. But
you look at like a guy like Greg Haugen, he kind of hated everyone. And I love
Haugen. Haugen is, to me, underrated, and I'll tell you why. Here's a guy who had no amateur bouts. He must have fought a little bit amateur because he won those tough man contests. But in those tough man contests, and I get it, he's fighting guys much bigger than him. So the guile and the precision and the smarts Greg Haugen had, and he could get under your skin and annoy the crap out of you. And that was part of his game plan. And Greg Haugen had a really good jaw, and he was going to peck away at that jab, and he was going to hit you with a right hand, and he was going to work you over on the inside. Haugen didn't do anything spectacular, but he did a lot of things good.
Haugen was a throwback fighter. You put him back, he was like a right out of the 20s and 30s. Straightforward. His fights with Pazienza were classics.
Yep.
Excellent matchup with those two guys.
And the 3 fights were very good. The last one was a 10-rounder because it was a non-championship fight. Steeler fan 1933, our good friend Matt says, I'm a very casual fan. Yes, the game is just so well done that I can't stop playing it for long. It is well done, Matt, and you bring up a wonderful point. And we're going to get back to the supplement set or whatever Anthony wants to talk about or whatever the chat wants to talk about. It is a well-done game. It flows. It's easy to understand. You play it a few times. You have a question. You can easily send it on the Facebook group, and there are people to answer, if not Anthony answers. And so like I say, I have a homebrew rule on a counter punch. Any legal punch that lands, I like to do a power check and a chin check. That's just me. Other people have homebrew rules, so it is open for homebrew rules. But the game's beautiful. It's easy to. I understood it like the first time I played. I go, this makes sense. I played again when I was beta testing some. When you first sent some way back when you started, and hats off to this. I'm very happy for the success you've had.
Actually, 2 years ago this month.
Is it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. The heavyweight set.
Uh-huh.
And just a fun game, and it's easy to understand. Fatigue is built in. There's no math. The math is just how many punches the guy lands. And, you move to the next side. That's a fatigue side. It makes all sense. There's other games, boxing games. They're good too, but I enjoy this one the best. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
I appreciate that. And thank you as well, Matt. Appreciate it.
As Bud W says, Greg was a tough guy. He was he did when he, oh crap, who did he? IBF. He beat Jimmy Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Jimmy Paul. I was trying to go back in my head. He beat Jimmy Paul. I always wanted to see Haugen and Jose Luis Ramirez. I thought that would have been an interesting fight just for Ramirez would have come forward, could pop a bit, and Haugen could have been, let's see if Haugen could have picked him apart. That would have been a fun fight. Because I remember when Jose Luis Ramirez fought Edwin Rosario, the first time for the vacant title. Because was it must have been Arguello. Must have stepped up. I'm trying to think why the title was.
Yeah, it's about the time he went up to fight.
I'm trying to. And I remember Rosario hurt Ramirez, and then Ramirez caught him coming in, and he spun him. I'm like, oh my god! And then Rosario won the rematch. And people forget when they want to say Boom Boom didn't beat anybody. Boom Boom beat Ramirez in a 10-round decision. That's how he got, I think, his title shot against Alexis Arguello, or a 12-round decision. So, so many fun. There's another one, Jose Luis Ramirez. He was a fun fighter. He's a tough fighter.
Well, lightweight was a real solid division. I mean, especially through the 70s and 80s.
Hello, Jim L.
What's up, Jim?
Phanomatic, how you doing? You need to open it. You need to open it and play it. You're missing out on a tremendous game, Phanomatic. We appreciate that you bought it. Now play it and enjoy it.
It's aging like wine.
Well, I'll tell you what, the sets get as fine as aging wine. They're just fun. Lightweights, yes, but the lightweight division, and again, you added some really fun lightweight fighters.
I was, like I've talked about it in the past. I think the current guys that are in or could be in the lightweight division, I'm talking obviously Teofimo Lopez, Ryan
which is
Garcia,
added in this set.
Javonte Davis,
Yep.
Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson is at junior lightweight now, but he can easily move up. Those are all top-notch, exciting young fighters. And like we've talked, I think they can make the lightweight division as exciting as the light heavyweight division was in the late 70s, early 80s when you had all those top guys, Spinks, Saad Muhammad, Kwali.
In the light heavyweight, you bring up that time period. You had the elites, Kwali, I would consider elite at that time. Spinks definitely. But you still had, just before you had John Conte, you had you had Mike Rossman, tough fighter. You had Victor Galindez coming down to an end of his career, but still Marvin Johnson, never in a dull fight.
Alvaro Lopez.
Oh yeah, it's just so many, and I think you're right with the lightweight division that you could have. Teofimo Lopez has grown on me. I like him a lot. When he did to Lomachenko, I've watched some of it over again. And I know his dad can. be
His
obnoxious.
dad's a pain in the ass.
He's obnoxious.
The kid is
But
good.
I think I was telling Teresa when we were watching the fight, and I go, I get the shtick now. Because you can almost see at times, like when they're doing the interviews with his dad and he's there, he's kind of almost, you can see his eyes like he's giggling inside. Like my dad just will say any obnoxious thing to get to promote the fight, or just he's going to get the fight. But that being said, he's a very good fighter. I like him. Ryan Garcia, I remember I told you his shtick has worn me thin. I'm already if they fight, I hope Lopez knocks his block off.
Here's the deal with that. So some guys can pull that shtick off naturally, because they have charisma. It's like Colby Covington in the UFC. He's obnoxious as hell to me because it's forced. And Ryan Garcia, I think, is the same way.
I don't think it's like when Sugar Ray Leonard did it. And again, you have to understand, Leonard's a great fighter, right? But when I was younger, I know this is going to sound horrible, I rooted for everyone who fought against him. I just was like, he wasn't my type of fighter. But what he did was, if he hurt you, he's going to knock your block off. So again, there's a difference between him and Mayweather. When Mayweather stepped up and Mayweather, again, all-time great. You sit there and you go, how did he do that? How does he not get hit? And you just but with Ryan Garcia, when he fought the English fighter, who now I can't think of his name, but he got dropped.
Campbell?
Yes. Luke Campbell, right? Mm-hmm. Campbell hit him with a beautiful, you could see Campbell was trying to set him up, and he hit him with that counter. And I remember talking or texting you, Anthony, later. We talked after that. I said he had his chance, and then he tried to wait too long to duplicate the same thing when he should have just jumped on him. And I think when I saw that, I said Lopez has a good shot. Again, Ryan Garcia hits insanely hard, but Lopez.
Well, I would love the first match. I would love to see is Javonte Davis against.
Yeah, you're very high on him.
Huh?
You're very high on Javonte Davis. He's great. He's a very good fighter.
He hits as hard as anyone pound for pound fighting today. He's got some flaws in his game. He can be hit, but his uppercut is devastating. And when he gets inside, lets the hands go, he's got great power. But the lightweights, a lot of good fights possibly coming. And what they've been doing lately in boxing for the past few years, good fighters are fighting good fighters, and that makes for good sport. Yeah. And again, it comes down to, again, I don't know how you feel about Eddie Hearn. I like Eddie Hearn. I think he's done a good job representing and he's making money. I get it. But that's the goal. I think he's better than the sport, better for the sport, than guys like Bob.
There's some people who do not like Eddie Hearn, and I don't if you're a boxing fan, his fighters make money. No one's complained about getting robbed. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't hear anything when I go look up. You don't see articles like this guy says Eddie Hearn screwed me out of money. He just, he came out of nowhere because the other promoters were like, oh yeah, like Aaron, boxing's dead. You read these articles, you made all your money. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't say about because you don't want to work and make good promotions.
And here's my take on that. Those guys like Top Rank and whatnot, it's almost like they got lazy. Like, we own the sport. Well, hell, Lopez's next defense is going to be on Triller, for God's sake. I mean, so yeah, you're not. They're going to have to step up their game. So I think it's good that guys like Hearn and Triller, even though that's more an entertainment-based promotion. Yeah, like even on Lopez's fight, they'll probably have a musical act on there. You know what? I don't mind that.
That I could do without, but it's the way the sports go. Because when the Canelo,
you have to do that to bring eyes.
Yeah. When Canelo fight, we're sitting there going, oh, God, just start the fight. I don't need the concert. I don't need the concert. I really don't need. But it was actually, I'm used to it now. What I don't like, and this is just being nitpicky, not so much the concert part. I'm used to that, like you said. Now, I don't like when they come down the ramps. I want to see them come out with their team and with the, and I get it. That's their wrestling. They're trying to get that wrestling shtick in. And the fans seem to like it who are there. All I know is they got over 70,000 people to watch Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders. And people who think boxing's dead, when it's done right, it's not dead.
Well, that was huge. I think that was the first major fight with full capacity.
Yep.
And in Texas and the Hispanic population and Canelo for sure. Plus, Saunders, and a lot of people criticized him for quitting because of the crappy talk, but he did a good job selling the fight. And, we talked before, the type of injury he had, absolutely no shame.
Anthony and I were talking before we came online. I said the only other time I saw a similar injury, and I'm sure someone else might have seen, Kell Brook against Triple G, when he hit him, and people were like, oh, why'd he quit? Because his eye socket just got crushed. And I'm almost positive his corner let him come out. He got hit a couple of times on the ropes, and they were like, yeah, we shouldn't have, they threw the towel in, they came in. And even his cornerman basically said after, we shouldn't have let him come out. He wanted to come out. We let him come out. As soon as he got trapped on the ropes and he got hit and he wasn't throwing, basically, again, I'm paraphrasing, hats off to them not letting their fighter get killed, because I'm not going to go.
That's the corner's job. I've seen, and again, I'll use UFC as an example. I've seen a couple of UFC corners send out their fighters that literally were done. And that's such bullshit. Your job, first and foremost, is to protect your fighter. It's why I applaud Mark Breland for what he did with Deontay Wilder.
Yep.
Wilder, he was done. He was not going to win that fight.
That fight,
cut your losses and get him, prepare him better next time.
That fight, regardless of what excuse he came up with or anyone believes, that fight was Roberto Duran, Davey Moore, Madison Square Garden. I'm going to mug the living crap out of this guy. I have never. I kept turning to Teresa going, and then I showed her that fight the next day. The Davey Moore. I go, watch this. This is what I mean. Duran wasn't going to lose on this night. Duran was going to annihilate this guy on this, and he did. And she goes, "You're right." I go, he mugged him, and that's what Tyson Fury. Everyone was laughing at him, and he goes, "I'm going to knock him out." And people are like, you can't knock him out. And he did. And I liked Deontay Wilder. I was rooting for him.
I'm a fan of both guys.
Me too. I like Tyson Fury. What Deontay Wilder does extremely horrible is he backs straight up. His head's there to be hit. And I talked about this before after the first fight. People are like, oh, Fury won the first. Listen. Or Wilder won the first fight. Fury. Listen, if Tyson Fury, you're the one who got knocked out in the 12th round. Don't come back and I like both the guys. You can't say, well, if he did get knocked down. But that's the same thing when I go back to watch the second fight. He beat him. No, glove. Oh, there's something. Are you telling me in this day and age, with them checking the gloves, and I watched them check the gloves, that they finagled the gloves? I don't think so, unless you can show me.
Absolutely no. It's excuses, and that's the one disappointing part. Because again, no disrespect to Deontay Wilder, he's a great fighter, great for the sport. He does wonders in his community, and I respect him. But just take the loss, get better. You've got holes in your game, and like you said, we broke it down.
Yep.
He is in and out. And he uses that long right hand, and nobody's been able to exploit it until Fury did. So,
and you brought up a point. You were on with Big Paulie last week, and you brought the football player. I can't think of his name, but he gave him trouble for like 6 rounds. Was maybe Washington? That sticks in my head. He was a former football player.
Gerald Washington.
Okay, it was. And me and my dad, God rest his soul, were watching the fight. And my dad's going, hey, this guy's fighting pretty good. I go, and Deontay Wilder was coming off of a little bit of a layoff. I said, this guy better get him. I said, because I go, my dad had never seen Deontay Wilder fight. They show the highlights. He goes, oh, this guy. I go, yeah, this guy hits hard, Dad. This guy hits hard. I mean, I go, he hits like George Foreman, Rocky Marciano, Mike Tyson. When he hits you, if he gets you clean, you're going nighty-night, most likely. And I remember me and my dad was at the same time. You could see Wilder starting to warm up, and my dad and I almost like at the same time go, the guy's done, because eventually that right hand's going to land. But he did show a blueprint that he caught Wilder going back, because he go back straight. great athlete. If they could teach him also to throw a left hook now and then, I think it would be a big advantage to them.
He's very predictable. It's measure you with the jab and then uncork that right. But, when that's all you need to get by, you're going to stick with that and kind of rely on it. And yeah, you're right. Washington showed the blueprint, and Fury, he's really an awkward fighter. He really is. But he has some of the best boxing instincts of anybody in the sport, and he loves to fight.
Yeah, and I think you brought that up when you talked about Anthony Joshua, where you don't believe he has the same passion as Tyson Fury.
Or
even Deontay Wilder.
Anthony Joshua is the best athlete in the heavyweight division. I think he fights because he's good at it, not because he loves it. Fury fights because he loves to fight.
Yeah. Jim L wants to know, and they're answering in the chat, but we're going to bring it up. I'm going to bring up the the list of fighters, and we can go through them if you want, Anthony, because
sure.
Jim L asked, Glory Days Boxing Supplement 1 boxer set. What is on that? What are the fighters, basically? So let me bring this back down.
And Jim had a couple of other questions, too. I'll go back. Where is he? I think you asked Jim if it's easy to play. And I would say, honestly, even if you're not a huge boxing fan, it's probably by 3 or 4 fights in, you'll have a pretty good idea of the flow of the game. It's easy to follow in terms of the structure of how the rounds work. And there's also a flow chart that you can download that kind of is like a helper. But, I like to think it's pretty intuitive there in terms of the way it flows.
I have to agree with you, Anthony. It's to me, it's very easy to follow. It's you make your initial control roll, and then you can roll the dice separately together. I've actually gone to, and I've gotten used to it. I even do it offline. And I just have to remember the colors every once in a while. I'm like, oh no, that's not right. I go red and white for the red corner, blue and black for the blue corner. It's just so I'm reading everything simultaneously. But it's such a fun game. There's also that dice roller someone created on that, and you have that listed.
Shoot.
It's on it.
He does dice rollers for everyone.
Yep.
It's oh crap. Hold on.
Okay. While Anthony's doing that, I'm getting the
Lewis Research. I'm sorry. Lewis
Research.
Guys, he's got dice rollers for every board.
It is a really cool. Now, if you typed in Lewis Research, they'll find it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you can, so you, even if you don't want to roll dice, if you get the PDFs and you don't want to print them, you just do snippets of the PDFs, put them up on an Excel spreadsheet, copy paste, get your Lewis, or I just already butchered it, that dice rolling.
Just type in Lewis Research dice rollers.
Lewis Research dice rollers, and you can enjoy it. I like rolling the dice. I did come up with the whole thing on a spreadsheet. Like I didn't use the Lewis Research, but the other dice roller. I'm like, it's fun, but I like rolling the dice myself. I like that. So let's go to the supplement set and go through it a bit. Okay, let's go here. Let's see if Al Red Sox fan. We practiced this before we come on here because I messed this up before one time. Well, more than one time. And go here and share. And there we go. And I don't think I can make it any bigger. But so I'll read them to you, Anthony. So your first on this list, the first set of 20, you have current and historical fighters that were not on any of the original sets that came out. And one big one here, people were asking for the Esteban De Jesus, great fighter.
That might have been my biggest omission from the original lightweight set. And, I had always planned to release supplement fighters after the initial 100 in each weight class. So I always tried to hold back, a couple of good ones. Actually, with the original game, initially I
Larry
Holmes and Sonny Liston.
Look, Sonny Liston. People were like,
that quickly was changed after feedback from the community. Sometimes I misjudge.
Yeah, but that's the other great thing about Glory Days Boxing and yourself. You do respond back to what feedback you have, and you quickly decided, and you gave them out for free.
Yeah, no, I put up a free set. I took out Alabama Kid and Joe Goss, a bare knuckle fighter, and replaced them with Holmes and Liston, and then whoever had ordered prior, I mailed them printed cards of those two. But
Yeah, because
and ultimately, like we've talked about, if you pay your money that you work for to purchase a game, it's not my game, it's your game. So it's important to give the people who purchase a game from you what they want and what they're going to enjoy in their experience.
And that's a great, again, so the lightweights, we'll just go through them real. Esteban De Jesus, historical fighter. Ryan Garcia, active.
Mm-hmm.
Teofimo Lopez, active. These are lightweights. Devin Haney.
I think Lopez can be a generational type fighter, meaning like level of Duran by the time.
I'm really high on Lopez, as I've already said. I like him a lot. Devin Haney, another good fighter.
Good solid boxer, good boxer puncher.
Javonte Davis,
powerful.
Another really good fighter. Errol Spence. Okay, now we have some welterweights. Errol Spence Jr., which I didn't realize he wasn't in that. I was like, why is he doing Errol Spence again? But he wasn't in the I got him mixed up with Crawford.
I did Bud Crawford as a lightweight.
Yeah. And I sat there going, he's in there. I mean, they got him mixed up with that. Jamal Charlo.
One of the fighting Charlo twins. He's a solid middleweight, current champion.
Andrade, excuse me.
He was the one calling out Canelo after his fight with Saunders.
And then the Russian fighter, Beterbiev. I never pronounce that guy.
Beterbiev. Yeah, he's an anomaly. He's straight up. He fights like Ivan Drago from the Rocky movies. He's straight up and down, Eastern European, straightforward. But he can crack and he can be hit too. Just nobody's been able to hit him before he hits them.
Yeah, he just had a fight a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
he came off a layoff. He had a little bit of difficulty.
He fought a southpaw, and he took some shots early, but again, he's just so relentless and tough that he walked him down and stopped him. But I'd like to see Canelo move up to light heavy and fight him. I think that's a big money fight. Yeah,
that would be an excellent fight. Then you have Alvarez, another light heavyweight, Elder Alvarez, and then you have Caleb Plant as a middleweight.
I did him as a middleweight because I'm not going to do super middles at this point in time, and I had a few requests for him, so wanted to get him in a game, and not a big stretch to me to think he could get down and fight middleweight.
No, and again, it's a game. It's a game. You can use. You want to have super middleweights. You want, say, Joel Calzaghe against Caleb Plant. Guess what? You take Calzaghe's light heavyweight card and you take Caleb Plant's and you look at them. And if you know boxing, Calzaghe, how many fights he lose? None. So that's pretty much even his light heavyweight card would be like what his super middleweight card. Maybe you give him slightly more pop, but he had brittle hands. So you can make the choice. Caleb Plant is Caleb Plant, solid fighter. But, I think it's really – and rating, here's the other thing that would be, for me personally, rating – because I remember when Title Bout had the cards, they gave you modern fighters, right? And you could see the ratings were much different, even with Hagler. In my set I had, I think it was 83 or 82 of the original Title Bout, I'm saying, compared to the historical fighters, because then – the active fighters are still fighting, and you can't really. It's tough to judge them. But I think you've done a really nice job with that, making them competitive if they're really a good to elite fighters at this stage of their career.
And that was the toughest part, and that's the big pratfall of rating active guys, especially guys that don't willingly get in with the other top guys in their division. So as time goes on, there will be adjustments and re-rates. It'll be released in supplemental sets. But, like we'll use Teofimo Lopez again as an example. A young kid, he's 16-0 with 12 KOs. He fought Lomachenko, who was recognized as a top pound for pound guy in his 16th pro fight. That's a defining fight. So when he does that and the way he performed, that makes it a lot easier to rate these guys when they fight.
I want to just get to the chat real quick. Arnold Hunter, I gotta go here. There we go. He says, what I like about Anthony and Glory Days Boxing is that you tried to give the community what they want. A lot of game designers don't do that. Here, Arnold. Here. I agree wholeheartedly.
You know, and again, it's not my game, it's yours. You know, so yeah, definitely. I mean, think about it. You know, there's big guys like EA Sports. They don't give a shit, but ultimately, you know, for guys and Keith Avalone and Joe Bryan even too are two guys I really try to model my business model off. You know, they're very receptive, and you have to be. This is a niche hobby, right? We don't have millions of sales every year of our board games. So, you know, to give people who trust you and pay for what you create, I think you have to be receptive, and it's how it should be, honestly.
Big Polly's World of Sports Sims joined us. He says, true, Arnold, a lot of them give you what they think you want. Here's the thing that a good game designer, and you find this with Anthony. I also give a plug out to Pro Strategy Football 2021. They listen to what people say, and they try to do what the fan base wants if it's doable. Anthony, again, he didn't have, and I understood when he didn't have Holmes and Liston because he's going to put out more fight sets. But people ask, oh, wow, there's no Holmes, there's no Liston. We love all these fighters, Anthony, but we'd like to have Holmes and Liston. What did Anthony do? He made the cards. They were free. If you bought the set, here, look. Actually, you didn't even have to buy the set. You went to the site and you downloaded them. They're free. And that's hats off. That's you know, it's hats off. Tremendous.
Well, like I said, I misjudged that.
Well, yes and no, because you're going to put out more. You know, you got to have people. You're thinking you've provided a great game, Anthony, but you're there. I know you say not. You know, you just want to make your money back and make a little money because your game's great. I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's pooper. It's a great game. It's fun. So you have to think business-wise. You want to keep the ball rolling, right? You have to always have something going. And with boxing games, what's going to happen, and it happens to every boxing game, there's only so many fight sets you can put out. So you have to sit there, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do next to keep it going? And you've done a marvelous job. And I think more and more people are discovering this game. It's fun. That's all I can say. So, and I was excited that you put now. Okay, so we had Caleb Plant. Then we have some heavyweights and other. So then we have Dillian White, who I like. I like Dillian White.
I do, and I compare him to like a Michael Dokes. He's you know, he can give anybody trouble, but he has his lapses too.
Yep. Can I ask you a question about? I've come around on Derek Chisora a full 180 because when Derek Chisora was younger, he had a shtick I didn't like. I just didn't like I just didn't like his shtick. And there are times where he would be disinterested or he'd talk a good game and then wouldn't really fight a good game. He kind of got disinterested. But I thought he just fought Joseph Parker a little while back. And I have to be honest with you, he got hosed. That's my opinion. I thought he won the fight. He dropped Parker early. I thought he faded. Yet, you know, Parker came on. I'm not saying that. I had it close. I had it for Derek Chisora. Also, when he fought the heavyweight, and you've added him, and Usyk, who was a cruiserweight, he destroyed that. I don't care what anyone says. That guy didn't win 2 rounds. Maybe he won 2 rounds, and they hosed him out of that fight. Do you feel, because this is my feeling on Chisora now, he's now going to, no matter what he does, unless he knocks someone out or knocks him down 3 times, he's not going to win a decision because people look at him and they're like, oh, yeah, he's kind of awkward. He's kind of, but it's not right. That upsets me when I watch that because I'm sitting there, I think the guy won. And he'll,
some fighters get kind of branded unfairly early on, and you know, he rubbed people the wrong way. He was, you know, Riddick Bowe, talent wise, could have been a top 5 all-time heavyweight.
Absolutely. For a big man like that, to be able to use a jab and then fight on the inside the way he could fight on the inside.
I mean, yeah, no, at his best, I compare Bo to Larry Holmes, who I think is a legit top 5-6.
Larry, absolutely.
And, you know, he just didn't bring that focus every fight. And obviously Chisora is not close to his level, but, you know, same principle. And it's sad, but even with boxing officials, if they've seen you or they've officiated your fights, they tend to, you know, put you in a box. It's like
I think you've hit it out of the ballpark there, because that's what I was trying to articulate. I go, this is because I've seen it with other fighters. I've seen it where Troy Dorsey fell into that too, where I'd watch a fight. And again, was Troy Dorsey the greatest fight? No. But when you outpunch someone, outland someone, and you have them pressed on the ropes for 85% of the fight, I don't give a crap what the guy does off the ropes when he's pity-pat, you know, like it always amazed me. And there's other fighters too. They just get lumped in. Well, they're not going to. I don't get it. He landed more punches. He actually landed, to me, Chisora in the Parker fight landed the harder punches.
Well, you know who else gets kind of lumped into that? And I'm not a huge fan of his, though, but he's still a hell of a boxer, is Adrian Broner.
Yes.
And that's because, you know, he's got that shtick too, and he's sometimes
he rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah. But when he's really focused, dialed in, and when he fights, he's a really solid boxer.
I agree with you. I agree with you there, and I agree. I'm not a big fan of his either, because again, and I've already said it before. Someone says something, oh blah blah blah. I don't like Ryan Garcia's shtick, because I think I can't remember. I know we talked off it. It's forced. It's not legit. It's I'm the good guy. Look at me. I'm the goody good. It's not legit.
You know, I mean, look, Tyson Fury's got shtick too. We talked about Lopez, but that's part of their personalities.
But when Fury does it, it's him.
Yeah,
it's not. I'm trying to make money.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to make money. Lord knows the stuff that comes out of his mouth ain't helping him make money. Especially when he was younger.
Tyson Fury's the kind of guy you'd like to sit in a pub with and have a couple of beers
absolutely.
For 3 hours. You know,
If Fury's head's on right, if he's not battling his demons of you get depression and some substance abuse issues and things like that, if his head's on right, he's going to be very difficult to beat. He has size. He can whack. Don't let you think like he can't whack. He can hit, because I wish he had the rematch with the Klitschko. I get the brothers mixed up. Because there was a classic thing after he won the title, and they're doing the press conference, and the fight wasn't that good. Don't get me wrong, but he won. He won every round. It was boring, right? But he just jabbed him to death, and he made fun of him. And so they're doing the thing, and Klitschko says, "Well, I'm gonna knock you out next time." And it could have been like when they were promoing the second fight, and then it didn't happen because of issues, and he got stripped of the title. Tyson Fury had the best comeback. How are you going to knock? You couldn't knock me out when I was fat. I'm in shape. I'm going to be in shape. I'm going to knock you out, he goes. And I believed him. I'm like, my dad was laughing. He goes, he is going to knock him out next time. He looks like he's going to get in shape. But he's so talented, Tyson Fury. Amazing for a big man. How the one thing he needs not to do, but it's in his personality when he fights. You know, he instead of like doing that taunting rolls and this and that and throw a few more punches, because you're going to hit the guy a few more times. But he's great for boxing. That's my opinion. I'll stick to it. But thank you, Anthony, for answering the. I wanted to ask you that because it drives me nuts. I know the guy's making money because he's making money for those fights, but to me, he won those 2 fights. And I've seen it happen with other boxers throughout.
No, he's been categorized now as a gatekeeper, so that's what he's going to be. You know, not a serious contender anymore.
And I'm not disagreeing that he's not I'm just saying, in my opinion, right? He won those 2, especially the Usyk fight. If that guy thinks he's fighting if I was Anthony Joshua, the only reason why I don't think they lined him up because they can't make money after that fight. They looked at it and go, Joshua's going to kill this guy. Joshua hit him 2 times and knock him out. If Chisora could bounce him around the ring, didn't knock him down, but he could be physical with him. What are you going to do with it? What's Anthony Joshua? 6'5", 250, whatever he is, all muscle, and this guy's 215 with stuff in his shorts. You know, he's not that big. for a heavyweight.
No.
Then you have this one was you had brought this up, Hasim Rotman, and that gives you all the linear champions now, correct?
Yeah. He was the only lineal champion that was not included in the game. And again, going lineal, of course, going by the natural progression of beat the guy that beat the guy.
And D. Scott Howard has joined us. D. Scott put up some quick goat whisperer videos as he is the goat. I wanted like 30 seconds apiece. And because you can't leave comments because they're for children, so you can't leave comments, but they're funny. And he talks the goats. And I like, my favorite one was, I think a couple of years ago, the goat stole his hat and was trying to eat it. That was my favorite one, but they're always fun. Big Polly's World of Sports Sims says, was watching the Holmes Weaver fight earlier today from 78 or 79. I think that was it the first or second fight? No, they only fought once. Excuse me. I'm getting mixed up with Shavers and Holmes now. Yeah, that was a good fight. He stopped Weaver late.
Weaver, I mean, Weaver was such a tough guy. You know,
he had to be hard to rate.
He was really kind of a blue collar fighter. You know?
And he had to be hard to rate, Anthony, because if you look throughout his career, that I think, and you have him rated well, you couldn't give him too much punching power because in reality, when you looked, when he knocked people out, it was spectacular, but he didn't knock everybody out. He could hurt you and stuff like that. And he lost fights you thought he should have won. I know he lost a lot of early fights because they just threw him in with people. But yeah, that's one of those. That's another one. That's a tough one to rate.
Dwayne Bobbick is another guy that kind of falls into that category because he cut through most guys he fought, but he was at such a low level, and every time he stepped up,
we could have a whole, if you wanted to talk about Dwayne Bobbick's. You don't even have to look at who he fought, but I only reason why I talk about this because when I was a kid, I would get KO magazine and Ring magazine, and I think it was World Boxing magazine. And they did a thing, KO. It was KO who had it. Once a year, they did their KO awards. And it was the Dwayne Bobbick Wasted Talent Award. And I remember sitting there going, and I've told this story before. I was a real little kid, but I swear to God, when he beat Teofilo Stevenson at the Pan Am Games, that made national news that he beat the Cuban. Then you go to find out later, for me, when I was doing more research about Dwayne Bobbick, and I had seen him lose later on to Tate, and he also went to South Africa, and he lost to Kali Notsi or something like that.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you. And so, again, his chin was done, but the disservice done to him. If you can go watch, it's on YouTube. When he fought Larry Holmes in the amateurs, he had talent. I'm not saying he was going to be an all-time great. How do you not? He had some boxing talent. Now he was going to hit. He was going to swap. That's what he was going to do. But he digressed. They didn't. And he had Eddie at one point. Eddie Futch, Joe Frazier was managing him. He managed him and Rodney, who was his brother. But
amateur fighting though is such a different game. Bigger gloves, more emphasis on points scored, at various points, headgear came into it, so you get away with stuff and sometimes skills don't translate. I don't know if you remember Andrew Minsker.
Yep.
He was an incredible amateur, and Pernell Whitaker probably gave him as good a compliment because Pernell Whitaker boxed as well as anybody in the game.
Absolutely. Sweet.
And Whitaker said about Minsker, he's like, man, that white boy can box, and that's really heady praise coming from him. And it didn't translate well. Mark Breland walked through people in the amateurs, and he had a very good pro career for sure. He's come up because when we interviewed Keisha McLeod,
he trained her for a bit, which was really cool.
He wasn't as dominant ever in the pros as he was as an amateur, and Hearns much better as a pro than an amateur.
Yeah, because you told that story.
Better as an amateur and he's still great as a pro. But Lomachenko, I think when it's all said and done, you look at his amateur career and rate it a lot higher than his pro career, even though he's done a lot in a very short time pro.
I like to say hello to Highlight Heyday. He has a card and dice highlight game. Now, I don't know if you, when I was a kid, they used to show highlight because they had it in Hartford. It's still big in, I believe, the Miami area.
Florida, yeah.
Yeah. But it was big up here before the whole fixing scandal. See, when people realize they're betting on something that's fixed, they don't want to bet no more. And they had, again, old school TV, the things I miss about old school TV. They had this dead time between like 7 and 8 on Channel 30 before they went to network, right? And they would show you a couple of highlight matches that when they went live. And I used to enjoy watching it. It's a fun, fast-paced game. But
highlight would be like on Wide World of Sports once in a while back in the day, in the 70s.
And check
a lot
out
of gambling on that sport, too.
Oh my God. My dad would say when they would go down there, and then they knew there was some ID gestures, shenanigans going on. Because you sit there and you go, and my dad came home one day. I go, how come you don't go to highlight? You're not going to, you know, it's fixed. He goes, you watch.
Can we go back real
yes.
quick? Jim L. asked a question, how do lightweights do against welters? There's really no, because it goes so much fighter by fighter. Eventually, once I get the flyweight set out, I'm going to do some free stuff that like career and cornermen, stuff like that. And also how to rate fighters. And I'll put a more comprehensive thing out there. But, you know, as a general adjustment, when you're moving a fighter up, you're going to make his chin worse. So add a point or two to his chin KO or KD ratings, reduce his power.
That's a standard kind of thing, because there's other ones, if you know fighters, like I said, when I did the Chavez prior bout that I did, because I said, wow, this would be really cool if this fight happened. I sat there, the only adjustment I made after looking at it, because you do such a good job rating the fighter, they both had 1 star on a certain roll. And I said, and funny, I think it only came up twice that they both had, you know, it was amazing to me. Pryor kept getting the money roll, you know, that 4 roll. But I said, if it comes up, I'm going to give Pryor control. That will be his advantage in this fight. I thought it was still pretty fair. But yeah, it's tough because people ask that a lot, because that's kind of the fun thing. Could be another, you know, the what if.
It would be cool if you could, you know, apply a real standard adjustment, but
it's tough.
Well, Bob Foster, one of the best light heavyweights ever.
Horrible at heavyweight.
He moved up and just got starched. He just couldn't handle the big boys. And, you know, then you have, you know, Michael Spinks take away his stoppage to Tyson, but he outboxed Larry Holmes, who was one of the best boxing or, you know, skilled boxers.
He beat Larry Holmes twice. Now, I thought he beat Larry Holmes once. I thought Holmes beat him the second time, but that's, again, close fight. Mm-hmm. Beat Jerry Cooney. People laugh. You can laugh at Stephen Tankstead all you want. The guy was not a horrific fighter, and he annihilated him. Michael Spinks, very good fighter. He got annihilated by Mike Tyson. There was no let me just say, I put money on that fight, and I made a lot of money. That's all I'll say at that, because people were like, oh, I go, you're out of your mind. I remember people betting the other way. I go, you're nuts. Because the money line, right? I mean, you're going to lose your money. Yeah. I didn't think Tyson was going to annihilate him that quick. I said 4 rounds, but he was never going to.
And Bud brings up Olympic medalist Clint Jackson, the sheriff.
Oh yeah, where is that?
To pros. Yeah, that's a great.
That is a great one.
Bud.
If I could find it, let me bring that down. Yeah, Clint Jackson. That's a really good one. There it is. Yeah. The other thing is, if you want to take a pro fighter, and I think it was mentioned, Jerry Cooney. I was just looking real quick. Jerry Cooney had talent. Again, not the greatest fighter, not the worst fighter, but they really did a disservice at times to Jerry Cooney. When he could have come back, he lost to Holmes. He wanted a rematch. Holmes said no. They could have made mega money, but Holmes was already disgusted for other reasons about how Cooney made more money than he did. But he could have fought, I want to say it was Greg Page, and they turned it down. You can't turn those fights down. And, and he had substance abuse issues. That's why he stepped away, they said, and then he got his life in order. But you can't turn down those things. You can't. If you want to be considered, legit. And he was legit. I'm just saying there's the other funny thing with Jerry Cooney was what would have happened if he did have that fight with Mike Weaver? Something like it fell out, and that's how he got the fight with Holmes, and he wasn't even ranked because the WBA and the WBC at the time would not rank each other's champions and would not rank the number one contenders. You wouldn't be in the rankings, which was insane. Let's go back here. So White, Smith, Bob Pastor, good heavyweight from the
good solid heavyweight from 40s, 50s.
Yep. Rahman, we talked about Usyk, Joey Giardello, middleweight champ, solid, respected fighter. Adrian
from the golden age of middleweights.
Yep. Adrian Broner, we talked about. Robin Blake was one of my all-time favorite, one of those TV fighters I enjoyed a lot, and he's fun. I think you can have good matchups with him. I'll be doing, I don't know, I probably won't stream it, but I'm going to be doing a Kenny Bogner. I already have like my whole matchup of every guy I'm matching Robin Blake with. Just so many fun fights with Robin Blake. Here's an interesting one. Laszlo Papp. Was he not the great amateur? Am I getting this guy mixed up? I want to make sure I'm right here. And he never got a title shot. He was from Yugoslavia, I believe.
He was
Hungary.
Hungary, yeah.
Yeah. And when the
well, he was an Olympic champion.
Yep. He never got a shot at the world title because I think the Soviets invaded Hungary and he didn't fight pro anymore or something like that. I might be getting this mixed up with something else, but Laszlo Papp was a great fighter. Would have been interesting to see.
No, he was a very solid all-around boxer. Again, he's another good example of someone who's, he still had a very, very good pro career, but amateur success, three-time Olympic champion. You would think he would be a champion, a professional champion for an extended period of time. Just didn't work out for him that way.
Yeah. Then the junior welterweights, you said this was the toughest one to make the cuts. You have Bruno Akari, Benitez, Jackie Berg, Johnny Bumpus, Antonio Cervantes. That's who Pryor beat, right?
Yeah.
Just the list. This is tremendous. These 25. Saul Mambi was a good fighter, solid.
Frankie Randall in there, who handed
the surgeon
first loss.
Chavez's first loss. Actually, I thought he beat him twice, and he didn't get the. I'm trying to think, did he get hosed in the second fight on a cut or something, or he lost the decision? I can't remember. I think the guy Lovamore South African.
Yeah.
South African, right? Good fighter. Aaron Pryor, Perkins, Randall, Ubaldo Sacco, Meldrick Taylor, Costa Zoo, Mickey Ward, and Arturo Gotti, Willie Joyce. Now, Willie Joyce, I didn't know much about. Can you tell us a little bit about Willie? Do you got anything offhand or?
He was a solid, world champion, solid boxer. And he's rated, on any given day, he could be trouble for anybody. Just again, a lot of the junior welterweight division, a lot of people don't realize it's been around
for a while,
as long as pretty much any of the junior divisions. Great fighters going way back to the 40s there. And a lot of those guys, he was back there in that era with Berg and Nicolino Loche and Doy. And, Loche is remembered just because he was such a great defensive fighter. Loy might have been an even better defensive fighter than Loche, or at least in the same level. Not many people know about him too, and he only
he fought predominantly in Europe. He fought a lot in Italy, and but great fighter.
He only lost 3 times out of 126.
I know.
Fights, so.
When I discovered Loche and Loy, when I used to get the boxing Bible. You get and I'd sit there, and as a kid, I'd flip through and go, who are these guys? And I'd sit there and read everything I could about them because they're outstanding fighters. That's a really fun set. I think a really fun matchup here. Well, anything with Arturo Gatti.
Costa Zoo, and Pryor, I think would be a hell of a matchup.
Yep. I was thinking, and anything with Ricky Hatton, the English hitman, and you match them up. Fun fights. Johnny Bumpus, you can match up depending how you want to. Mildred Taylor against Pryor. I almost did that one because I thought that'd be intriguing to me. That's the thing about any sim game, card and dice especially. You can do whatever you want. And you can, with boxing, with me, I've always said when I do boxing, whether I'm streaming it or pretty much any sport I stream or play offline, I want King Kong versus Godzilla. I'm Barnum and Bailey. I'm Don King. I want the event, and it's
I think boxing more than any other simulation, because baseball, you can kind of, you still have what-if matches in baseball, but you can compare errors by stats. And boxing is so subjective, it's tougher to do that. So I think it creates a lot more good discussion on what if Ali had fought Johnson, what if Henry Armstrong had fought Sugar Ray Leonard, things like that. So
Team Batman Boxing, hello. He was one of my first subscribers way back when. Check out his channel. Please subscribe. Yeah,
Clinton Clark has joined us. Good to see him.
Yes, Clinton has joined us, and I won't comment on that.
I was demonstrating a rear naked choke to my wife in that picture he's talking about. And trust me, she's far from frail, Clinton.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with your wife. And Clinton brings up he still uses the baseball almanac. Oh, that's great stuff. But yeah, boxing. The what-if matchup. The only thing, again, heavyweights are the only ones in my mind at certain time periods you can't match up guys. But I can take, say, Henry Cooper, right? And I can see him fighting at cruiserweight because I think it would have been a hell of a cruiserweight.
And we talked about cruisers, and if you think about that, division was really created because heavyweights just started getting so big. Because you think about a lot of the greats, Jack Johnson was a legit heavyweight, but Dempsey would fought as a cruiserweight. Marciano fought a lot of times at like 185.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of Floyd Patterson is another one who would have fought cruiserweight. You got a lot of, respected and great heavyweight champions who I don't know if they fought now would be big enough to compete with some of the bigger
I'm going to be honest, as much as I love some of those, I do love them. Just the pure respect I have for them when they went in the ring. The size difference is too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much, in my opinion. And I hate saying that, but to me, it's fact. Yeah. It's tough. And I'll just bring up, and it's one of the examples I always thought of after, because I was like, with Rocky Marciano, a certain heavyweight, I'm not saying he could beat, but if there was a certain size, he would have a shot. At least he could be competitive, right? But I remember when Lennox Lewis fought a heavyweight named Justin Fortin, who was not a bad heavyweight. I want to say he was Australian, could hit a bit, but he was short, very short fighter, right? And he was a smallish type of heavyweight, 210, 215. And Lennox Lewis was about 230 at that time. And he just picked him apart. Yeah. And again, Lennox Lewis much better than him, but it's the size difference. That's the one weight class that's you know. But when you do cards and dice, it doesn't matter because you sit there and you can match up anyway. You could match up what if pound for pound if you want in this game.
Floyd, that's the other thing I was going to say.
Just take the weight class out and go skill.
Yeah.
You can do that with this game. It's fun. Here's a quick question I was thinking, because we're talking about, because I had this contemplated in my head to drop Henry Cooper, right? How would, if you're dropping a guy in weight class, and again, you'd have to know a little, it's tough to do a standard thing, but if you were dropping Cooper to a cruiserweight, I would think I would increase his power slightly. And, well, the ring generalship stars. That's why I don't like to fool around too much with that. But if I was going to, so Cooper is a 6-starred fighter, I believe. I'd have to pull his card. I mean, I could find it in my PDF. How, if you were, would you keep his ring again, it's just a question. I'm not saying this is what you, how would you sort of do that if you?
Quite honestly, I would look first at the weights that they fought at.
Yep.
Cooper, I wouldn't adjust too much because
he fought
the other guys he fought were his size.
That makes sense.
So he'd be fighting cruiserweights his size.
You keep it that way. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. So give us a matchup, junior welterweights. You've done Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, a 4th fight.
I've done 2 fights of them.
Yep. Yes, that's right. Just right here, what tickles your fancy in junior welterweights?
One actually that I did not do during testing that I mentioned already. I'd like to do Costa Tszyu and Pryor. I did Pryor against Nicolino.
Yeah, that was a fun fight.
That was a fun fight, and their traits interacted to, and actually Loche's trait was different, and that's a question that Ron just asked in the chat. We'll get to that after these matchups. So the matchups in that division, a rematch with Hatton and Tszyu, because Tszyu would be a little bit better this time. I'd like to do a matchup of boxers, Meldrick Taylor against a Loche. I think that would be an interesting fight. And then, like you said, even Wilfred Benitez against Loche too, because he's got the defensive whiz trait. And it could be a very boring fight, but it would also, to me, be a very interesting chess match type fight.
Here's the one that pops out to me, and I'm most likely will do this on the channel. And I've decided I'll do like 12-round championship fights with no draws, meaning if it's even after 12, we play an extra round. It's just because the streaming wise, and it worked pretty well when I had to go to church and Teresa's sitting there staring at me. I'm like, I'll get done. Benitez and Pryor fascinates me.
Yeah.
That's they're all fun fights here. So that's pretty cool. All right. Cruiserweights, again, a plethora of fun here with cruiserweights. We had Bud W.
I'm going to answer Ron's question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
All the time. And I'll give you 2 examples on this supplement set that just came out and what I ended up doing.
Let me just read it just in case people are watching later on and they're just listening. Ron asked, Anthony, do you ever struggle over whether to give a boxer a trait or not? If so, and any examples?
So, and I'll actually give you 3, all from this last set that released. So, all right. So normally, and just an overview, traits I put in the game to either accentuate a particular strength or weakness, to balance out a card. And by that, I mean, say a fighter has a higher, which would be worse, chin KO KD rating, but his stoppages came at the hands of top flight fighters. So in other words, he cut through,
mid-level
and lower guys easily, and then got to the top, like Dwayne Bob is a good example.
Yep.
So what I do there, like the front runner trait reduces their chin, their knockdown chance, so that the opportunity for a lower rated fighter to put them on the canvas is a lot less.
And that makes
so
sense.
I look at things like that to balance fighters. And then in terms of deciding, again, 3 examples from this set. Beater Biev here. He could have had either the Iceman trait. He's 16-0, 16 stoppages. So he could have had the Iceman trait or the closer trait, meaning great finisher. I went with closer just because he's relentless in the way he stalks people down. And his power is a 6, which is, the highest power I give anyone is a 7. So it's up there. So that's a situation where I went back and forth between 2 and decided on the closer just based on his fighting style. Nicolino Loche. So his trait, I actually created a trait for him. And when I did Floyd Mayweather, he was the recipient of a first-time trait as well. So Loche's trait is safety first. And Loche did not hit. He only had 14 knockouts in 135 professional fights. So feather-fisted reduces the opponent's chance to getting knocked down. So that was a given. And that was the trait I gave him initially. But he also was able in toe-to-toe exchanges to have a knack for getting in more punches than his opponent, which is the old master trait in the game. So what I did is made a new trait for him, safety first. So it's -2 from opponent's chin knockdown, meaning it's tougher to knock his opponent down, and then -1 from opponent's punches landed. So that incorporates both those traits. And that's an example of where I just couldn't decide, and he was worthy of both traits. So I just made a new trait.
And again, he's an all-time great.
Yeah.
It's not like because there are some fighters, good fighters, they don't have traits. Some of them. I mean,
now, and Jackie Berg is an example of a high-level fighter, won 157 bouts. And sometimes the card itself encompasses all the traits. So Berg, was an average defensive fighter, pretty good boxer, decent chin, but there was really nothing that stood out or as a strength or a weakness to where I would adjust the basic stats I gave him to alter his card or improve or, again, lessen opportunities against certain styles of fighters. So that's kind of how the whole trait thing works. And what I review with every fighter, I rate in terms of whether I give them a trait and what trait I give them.
Excellent. So I believe you answered Ron's question quite thoroughly, and everyone else. Here's a question I know people ask every once in a while, and you've discussed it. Zalapsky Smurth, is a PC game being announced?
Man, I wish right now, and just really nothing's changed. I had a programmer that I had, entered an arrangement with to produce the game. I do have a very rough pre-alpha version of the game where you can actually simulate a fight. It's not, I've made changes though since we designed that, so it's not completely up to date. But basically what happened there is he had some personal family issues that came up that, required him to step away. And, he hasn't reached out yet. He's doing other stuff, obviously, but I would like to release a PC game at some point, and I would like to give him the first shot when I do decide to do that or when that happens, just based on the fact that he put a lot of work in initially, and I think that's fair and respectful to, leave that opportunity for him. Even though maybe I could go find someone else to do it now, I'm not going to do that until he definitively tells me there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do this. My oldest son is also doing programming courses right now and has progressed a lot in that endeavor over the last year. So at some point, he'll actually be ready to program a game. So if it doesn't work out with the initial, I'll probably go with my kid and put him to work, and you know what? It'll be cheap labor for me, so I'm all
excellent. now, just a question, then we'll on the PC. I would think it'd be kind of cool if you could roll your own dice still. I think it'd be kind of cool, like with Replay Baseball, you can roll your own dice and you just punch them in. But again, I'm not a programmer, but just a thought. People like that, so.
That is pretty much to me a very easy option. Obviously, the base game would be, it would be like incorporating the Lewis dice roller. It would come out on the screen for you, and then the game would apply the results. Similar, very similar to say like Inside Pitch or, Replay. And then I think an option where you roll your own and enter numbers is easy enough to put in there.
Cool, great. RF. Ron says, thank you. Great answer. Absolutely. This is why we do these. And I'm so happy Anthony comes out, and I say, Anthony, we'll do like a half hour. And then I look up at the screen, like, oh God, his wife's going to kill me.
We're an hour and a half in already.
So cruiserweights, a lot of fun fights there. It's just a fun set. And I actually was really looking forward to the cruiserweights too, and the junior middle. They're all good. But especially, you have some nice bangers. You got Holyfield, all-time great. Now, I just have you only gave him a 9. I thought he was going to be a 10. Just in my mind, I thought, what was the thought process on? I'm just curious what the thought process was on that.
You know, one thing I do when I rate them too is kind of do ratings relative to contemporaries. Mm-hmm. And Holyfield for sure was an all-time great cruiser, but I think as an overall skill level of that division, you don't have the highs that you do with some of the other divisions where fighters have a chance to really develop and get tested against other fighters at their same skill level, if that makes sense, you know. So
I just want to answer Zalafsky Smurf, and he's shown up in my chats and my games, so I greatly appreciate that. He says, thanks for the answer, very fair, and I appreciate your honesty. A PC game would be the only way I can play, as I don't think you ship to Canada. But you can get a PDF for $6 if you're able to print it. So.
You know, and the other thing there too, in which I like to offer, if you can get it, the printed set comes on, it's the 10-up that I send to my printer is an 11 by 17 page. So if you do order the PDF and you have access to a local printer who can actually print and cut the 11 by 17, I would be more than happy to email those print templates to you. And so you can take them and especially if they can I do the print set on a 130 cardstock. If you can get that too, that will give you the exact same cards you get in the game. So if that's an option, anybody who orders PDF, I'm always willing to email them the printed templates if they can get that done where they live.
Excellent. Another option, if you have a decent printer, I use 110 cardstock. I get the printed set also, but I get the PDFs because just for streaming purposes. And what happens with the PDFs, I usually print them up because I want to play right away. And the 110 cardstock, and if you have an okay printer to decent, it comes out pretty nice. And again, this is let's get this one here. So this is the printed, and this is I just grabbed Alexis Arguello's card. This is the prior set, but they're beautiful. I don't know if you can hear that. You could kill small animals with this. It's how sturdy it is. Beautiful and nice gloss, easy to read. But if you're printing, and I've printed on regular paper too, I don't like it as much because it's paper. But the 110 cardstock works pretty good. And I'll just, again, pretty sturdy and a decent, you don't have the glossiness, but again, it's an option. And also, if you don't want to even print them, if you get the PDF, the game, how much is the game PDF with the heavyweight? I forgot to, I don't remember. What's that?
The base game at $8.
$8 with the rules and everything.
Yeah.
$8. So if you want, $8 PDF, and you can do snippets and just put it on an Excel, and you bring up a dice roller and you can play the game. These are just options. I'm not telling people to do it. These are options in case like Smurf is in Canada.
And let me wrap up about Evander too. So
yes,
basically at cruiser, he got an extra ring general star versus what he has at heavyweight.
Yes.
And then slight increase to power, slight decrease to chin. And then as a heavyweight, he did not have any traits with his cruiserweight card to kind of compensate for the stars and make it tougher to beat him. He got the Iron Will trait, meaning if he does get hurt in a fight where his opponent gets an unopposed action, he cannot be knocked down.
Knocked down, yep.
And then the other thing too, he did a slight output increase in terms of punches landed, not in raw numbers, but in the number of points you can get from punches, and then also last but not least, stamina went up as a cruiserweight as well,
Excellent.
which would be a big
Excellent.
asset.
Great. So again, another fun set there. Junior middleweights. And here's one of what makes junior middleweights very interesting as all of these. You have the what if scenario with Tony Ayala Jr. Very good fighter, horrible human being in my opinion. Very good fighter. But you can you know what I did not know, Anthony? And I was doing a little research on him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that he had a fight set for NBC with Roberto Duran that he was going to make 700. I can't remember how much Duran was going to make, and I might have the values wrong. Who's going to get what? But I want to say for a TV network fight in the early '80s, he was going to make $750,000, and maybe Duran was going to make slightly more or the same. And the reason why that fight, they had it signed, you can find the posters online. He had that legal issues, and he had to go to. He couldn't make the. He had to go do something like house or some type of.
No, he served a prison sentence for rape. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. He's not a nice human being.
And here's the thing with Ayala. He was a darling, and think about it. He was fighting professionally on TV because we were born the same year, I believe. At the same time, I was still schlubbing around in amateur rings in Utah. He was still in school when he turned professional.
He was a network darling.
Yeah.
Lou Duva, along with his father, trained him. I think he was a Duva fighter, and his father was a trainer.
His father was involved.
Yep.
And here's how I compare him. Tony Ayala really was a junior middleweight version of Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And the difference was Tyson had people who disciplined him, checked him, nurtured him, and basically kept him in line. Ayala was really enabled and was given a lot at a very young age and able to run and didn't have boundaries.
Nope.
And I think there's stories how they grew up, minus the fact that Ayala had his dad in his life, but, grew up in a rough area, very comparable. And it just shows you the difference in what, good mentor can do to a fighter and somebody who's going to hold a fighter accountable. And Ayala was never held accountable. And unfortunately, he's deceased now, and a very promising career derailed because of his issues.
Also, they had the Davey Moore fight made for the championship. Yeah. And again, he had the horrible demons that caused him not to be a nice human being got in the way. Jim L says, real quick, is Roberto Duran? Yeah, lightweight. Oh, no, there's a welterweight card free, too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a freebie card of Duran you can get. But Duran is a fighter that when in subsequent supplement sets will get at least an official welterweight card, maybe an official junior middleweight card as well.
That's going to be, I think, a Duran junior middleweight card's kind of, because he had some good wins and he had some bad losses at junior, but he fought top-notch guys. So he again was one of my favorite fighters of all time, Roberto Duran.
No, he gave Moore a beat down, and then, that
Absolutely.
knockout he suffered against Hearns was probably one of the most brutal you'll ever see.
And then when he beat Iran Barkley at middleweight when he wasn't supposed to, very similar. The only thing he didn't do was knock out Iran Barkley, but he gave him a beat down. Yeah. Different with counter punching and guile, and that's what amazed me with Roberto Duran. And again, when he fought Pazienza a couple of times and he fought Camacho, I don't know. I'm biased. I thought he beat Pazienza the first time. I thought he beat Camacho. But again, I'm biased. I'd have to go back and watch again. But I thought, he had the smarts to fight at those weight. And he could hit, but he didn't hit hard like he did as a lightweight. Again, his original nickname was Rocky because at lightweight, he could hit pretty good. It's funny. He stepped right over the junior welter class, because the money fight was with Leonard.
Leonard, for sure.
He beat Carlos Palomino in a 10-rounder, I think. And then that's how he got the Leonard fight, or vice versa. Maybe he fought him later. He destroyed Pepino Cuevas at junior middleweight. There's another fight. He's not in this set, but Pepino Cuevas is another one of those. Man,
Cuevas was an animal, and he was weird. It's when Hearns knocked him out. It's like Hearns permanently took his chin
absolutely, because he was never the same.
Never.
So thank you for answering that. The cruiserweight now, and the junior mids. We're talking about Tony Ayala. Lots of what ifs. And there's another. This is a really fun one of these fighters. As soon as I saw the name, I was extremely happy. Luigi Manchillo. The CH is because I used to say Chio. My dad's like, no, it's Chio. So, he was a good fighter. Never a world champ, but a really good fighter. And when I saw that, I was so happy to see my boy Luigi in there.
Another one of those fighters that was overlooked, but he's solid. I mean, he went 12 rounds with Hearns, and Hearns still had plenty of punches junior middleweight. And yeah, tough fighter. Very much in the stereotype of a typical Italian. What you think of an Italian fighter?
He was. I remember watching when he went the distance with Duran. That was his first loss. I think he had a draw maybe on his. And I sat there, you think Duran's going to kill this guy, and you're sitting there. I'm watching as a young. What's that? 82, 81, 80? I don't even remember. 82 maybe. And I'm watching. I'm like, every time he got through a round, and he fought okay. He fought pretty good. I'm like, well, they're talking like this guy's supposed to be destroyed, and he fought good, and I was happy about it. Fernando Vargas, a fun fighter. Ferocious Fernando.
Manchillo was knocked out. Mike McCallum knocked him
at the end. Yeah.
And then he was knocked out by a nobody real early in his career. And then he fought a little bit longer than he should have and got stopped late. But, against top-notch fighters, McCallum was the only guy to stop him.
Yep. And then you also had, and I can't, Japanese. I'm pretty sure Japanese, I think he's Japanese. Kochi Wajima. Yeah, good fighter. My Kudo. That's who Davey Moore, I think, beat. Is that who Davey Moore beat when he went to Japan?
Mashishi Kudo?
Yeah, I think that's who Davey Moore beat. But it's good that you added those guys because they're if you go on YouTube and you watch those guys fight, they're fun fights. You can see these guys on YouTube. David Reed was an Olympian.
Well, and a lot of Japanese fighters, especially not at the lighter divisions. The Japanese fighters of the mid divisions don't get a lot of play outside of Japan either. But two guys, Morris Hope and Rocky.
Very good fighter. Excellent.
And we were talking about when we were talking about Saunders' injury. Yeah, Mattioli broke his wrist in the first fight with Hope, where he lost the title. Broke his wrist in the first round when he got knocked down. He put it out to brace himself and broke it. Fought 8 rounds with a broken wrist and threw punches and took punches blocking on that wrist. So very tough guy too. And came back and Hope was cool enough to give him a rematch, and he stopped him in the rematch too in the 11th. But still very fun, good action fighter.
Yep. The thing I remember about Maurice Hope, the thing that always when Benitez knocked him out, that was just brutal. And I liked Maurice Hope. Ayub Kalule, another good fighter. He fought Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yep.
I think that's who Sugar Ray Leonard beat for the junior middleweight title. Terry Norris. You have Terry and Orlin Norris, the Norris brothers. Orlin at cruiserweight, Terry at junior middleweight. And so this is overall a fun set. Junior lightweights. Here's another one of my favorite TV fighters, Rocky Lockridge. Very happy he is on this list. Rocky Lockridge.
He's another guy that doesn't get a ton of credit. And,
No,
again, a very good TV fighter. Junior lightweights, they were tough. There's a few 5 or 6 guys in there that fought. Well, actually more, probably about half of them that fought exclusively at junior lightweight that, weren't going to get rated in other sets. Lockridge was one. Cornelius Boza Edwards. Frankie Baltazar. So there's some solid, good action fighters. John Molina is another one.
Yep.
Bazooka Limon, the Snake Man, Alfredo Escalera. And then actually another one of my favorite TV fighters for back in the day, Jesse James Leha.
Yes.
Very good action fighter. And then a couple of good bangers. Diego Corrales, of course.
Fritas.
And Acelino Fritas, another very good puncher. So, yeah, there's some good. I think junior lightweight actually might have some of the most even matchups of any set.
And the Diego Corrales card, I think you hit it out of the ball. He could hit and he could go down. That's what made him an amazing. He died way too young.
Those guys are always the funnest guys to fight because anything can happen. Corrales, even though he only lost 4 times, he's got a knockdown rating of 4.6 and a KO rating of 5. So it's possible to catch him.
No, I think they're all well done. Then you have good Robbie Peden. I think he was Australian. I'm trying to remember. Brian Mitchell was South African.
Uh-huh.
And you have Virgilio. This is just an outstanding 100 set of fighters. You can't go wrong with this.
Well, there's
really good set.
And here's I think what's the best selling point of this set. It's like all meat and potatoes, right? In the base game that comes with 100 heavyweights, everybody's going to fight Ali against Dempsey and Marciano, and how many guys are really going to do a career replay of like Joe Grimm, right? Nobody, But I think with this set, because of the parity, that there's attractive matchups from top to bottom throughout the set, and I think all fighters in the set will get some play. Whereas in the base 100 set or 100 fighter releases, there's always going to be 15, 20, 25 guys that don't get much ring time.
Right. When you did that, though, you did it with the intention of if someone wanted to do like build a fighter's career. So you gave them quote unquote guys who were the guys who you beat. And some people like that. And then again, you gave the free tomato can set if you really wanted to do a sort of a career replay, not necessarily exact.
And that's one of the freebie things that I'll be doing later on this year, is releasing a module that kind of tells you how to take a fighter through a career, how to adjust them for different stages, and then also to create your own fighter if you want to do a career replay that way.
Now, the other thing, and then we'll let you go shortly as I chewed up a lot. I'm going to take this back down so we go back to the big screen. If anyone has questions, please ask them. Steeler Fan has a question. We will get to that. Stop sharing. There we go. Steeler Fan asks, Anthony, do you anticipate that all of your freebies, excluding, I don't know what TCs are, will eventually be part of the supplement sets?
Yeah, so tomato cans there.
Oh, tomato cans.
They'll definitely always be free. Eventually, I'll incorporate them, and I'm not going to do a whole bunch because they're already free. So why should I make you pay for them? But I think going forward, every supplement set will have 2 or 3 of the extras that I've rated. So just so you can have an official printed card, like Gary Guyton is a good example, who was a junior middleweight, and I rated him just to quickly go.
Did you come across his nephew?
Yeah, his nephew reached out through someone who had
bought him the game, right?
Yeah, bought him the game.
That is so cool.
So I rated a card that he could give his uncle.
That's really cool. I remember that's one of my favorite stories. You have a lot of good stories. Oh, on a side note, you got to get back to the really horrible 7th inning stories in your baseball games, because I like those. Seventh inning fun facts.
I
like the more dreadful one.
And death, yeah.
I'm just kidding. As I think it was Steeler fan who said, on a side note, Al, all these people that he's talking about have passed away. And I'm just joking. You always come up with great seventh inning fun facts. People have asked about, because other games have, I'm just going to throw it out there, fictional, not the tomato can. Again, this is not a thing I enjoy, but I'm just saying people have asked.
I was actually going to talk about that.
Excellent. Fictional fighters.
So there definitely will be a fictional set. Print, I will probably do. Honestly, I'll go by feedback. If there's people interested in a printed set, I will do a limited print run set. I'm kind of on the fence. I've also thought about just doing a freebie fictional set, because here's what I want to do with that. I want it to be a living set where some fighters will retire. If anybody's played History Maker Baseball, Keith Avalon's fictional set, I want it to be similar to that, where fighters get better, get worse, retire, new fighters come in. The feasibility of doing a printed release with just a few or a dozen changes every year isn't that great. So I may just do a PDF release on that, and sell maybe the initial set for the $6, and then do free releases of changes each year with a few fighters, new fighters, etc. I haven't decided, but I'll definitely have some fictional option at some point in time.
Another one, because I don't remember who asks, but every once in a while someone asks, celebrities, meaning like just movie stars and you somehow rate them. Again, fictional. To me, it's fictional, right?
I will never do a Jake Paul card.
That I know. I'm just saying, Clint Eastwood. I've seen that someone had a game.
I'll usually throw them in okay. Here's the deal with PDF sets. With the format, there's slots for 102 fighters.
You get a couple of Easter eggs.
Yeah, so there'll always be Easter eggs. Like one of them has Robert Conrad and Tony Danza in there. Yeah. So I'll do stuff like that.
The other cool one that I think it was a set. Maybe it was the first one. I think it was a second heavyweight. You had Gastineau and Ed Jones, who I actually did on my channel, which was wicked fun. 6 rounds. Bud W asks, "Is custom fight card?" I don't know if he means like a purse, like you could do your own fight card. I guess maybe. I think that's.
Yeah, no, I've actually. I think I'm from the Facebook group, Mike Romatowski.
Yes.
I did a fictional card of him.
Oh, that's cool.
That he did a career replay with and fought until he lost. So yeah, that's something I'll do. I don't mind doing that. It doesn't take long. So I'll do those on request, and I'm going to include some customers in the fictional set when that comes out too.
That is cool. And Celebrity Bikini, that's Jake Cruz. He really doesn't look like that, but hello, Jakey.
I do like that picture though.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the picture. I mean, with me as a fighter or you out. Yeah, okay, so that's what he did mean. Great. And then Bud W says great. So, well, I've kept you almost 2 hours, Anthony. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss, my friend?
No, just next up for Glory Days Boxing is flyweights. And then after that, I'm going to do some freebies and clean up some of the active fighters, meaning adjust records and maybe do re-ratings if applicable, like Josh Warrington, who I had rated pretty well, and then he got smoked his last fight and probably is done fighting. So stuff like that. I'll do some cleanup with active fighters. And then beyond that, with the games, I'm actually finishing dialing in the engine for my college football game, and that's going to be released. I'll do some previews there, and the college football game, Glory Days College Football, will be released at the end of the 2021 college football season.
Awesome.
So that will be the next release.
So is it going to be at the end? So it'll be the 2021 football season that you would be, because you said at the end. So Okay.
Yeah, I'll do some testing and some videos, and then have
Yeah.
probably a couple of people tell you actually one of the testers, Al, of
Thank you.
2020 teams as I go along. And then the first official release will be 2021 season. Then I'll go back and do some past seasons as well. Hey, what's up, Bob?
Hello, Bob. Quick question. The college football, is it going to be play-by-play or is it going to be drive-by? I remember you've talked a little bit with me. I'm lucky enough to talk to you offline and stuff. Do you know yet, or you bouncing that?
I'm glad you asked, Al.
Awesome. Because football does take, again, the only thing I've done with football, I have the old Fran Tarkenton game, which is a lot of fun. I've rated teams. I've made teams because I figured out the engine. It wasn't that hard. But football takes a long time to play card and dice. And I like play-by-play, don't get me wrong. I'm just curious what because you play the one from Stone Mountain Press, which is a simulation of sort of, I've played it too. It's a take on football, but it isn't exactly football. And you've created college teams, which is really cool on that.
And that's a great game. So Al, I'm going to do this. I can't share, but
I think you can. I don't know. I think you can, because Dave Gardner, when we do this, he does. I don't know how he does it. Try to. Do you see the share button down at the bottom? You probably don't.
Let me see.
Because I know Dave Gardner, when he's on with myself and Teresa, or myself and someone else, he'll start sharing stuff, and I just have to accept it. I just have to say,
oh, you know what? I do. So I'm gonna give you that now. This is very early, and I am repping Carl Hayden Falcons. I am repping. I am. This is very early in the process. So let me do this. Hopefully, I do this right.
And then I just click add, I believe. When it pops up like when you come into the stream. Again, I don't know how to do it, but I think if you just hit add or something.
Okay. So let me do this.
So we're gonna get a sneak peek at the college football.
And again, this is very, very raw.
Very raw. Of course, I want Anthony to do wrestling next, but
so wrestling's in the pipeline too. Okay, so I'm going to share this.
Yep.
Does it come up?
Yep.
There we go.
Good job, Anthony.
All right. Oh, did it go away? It went away.
Yes, it did.
Shit. All right. Back. Good.
Yes.
All right. So this is a very, very rough draft, but I'll explain to you how the two, how it works. So this game is, you can see here, it's got the, not ring general stars, but these are trench control stars, just like Roy Day's boxing, same engine.
I like that. Cool.
Got an overall team offense, defensive ratings. So the way it's going to work is you can play play-by-play, and that's what these boxes down here are for.
Okay.
And then these boxes here will determine who is the ball carrier or receiver. And what this is a master drive chart. And so I will show you this. So right here is so you can play entire play-by-play of the whole game, or you can simulate drives up to the point of scoring opportunities, or
like red zone. Red zone.
Similar, yeah, very similar to that concept. Okay. So when you're doing this, you get a difference between teams' offensive, defensive ratings, and you roll 2d10, and if it's a +5, you go by this row, and it will show you punts, scoring opportunity, potential big play, turnover, and then we have our event chart, which of course has to be there. Absolutely. And then once you get, say you roll a punt, you will then reference the 1d20 and a 1d6 and odd even, and it will show you, say, a 7 here. So this is a punt. The drive lasted a total of 10 yards, and then you had to punt. Or a scoring opportunity, drive lasted 50 yards, and then you basically jump into the game and go play-by-play mode from that point until you either score or stop, kick a field goal, whatever. So that's kind of the hybrid mode. And then this column here is basically just, this is optional. This is for the end of the game where you can assign individual player stats for those portions of the drive you don't simulate play-by-play. So without getting too far into that.
Yep. No, that's cool. And I like that you're keeping the same engine basically with because that you see that almost like in a history maker games. I know the games are different, the different sports, but they have this similar type engine. And I think it will make it easier for people who play Glory Days boxing. And we all look forward to the college football and wrestling.
Yeah, so for sure the same engine, and it will be a hybrid system where you can fast play to the key points of a drive or punt, or
that's
play
really cool.
the entire game out. So I want the hybrid game to be about a 30, no more than say a 30, 35 minute experience. And then the play-by-play could take up to an hour or more. So yeah.
Football games, Jake, are because I've fooled around making a football game. I have like 4 different versions. I change my mind constantly. I haven't worked on it in a while, but it's a football game. And every time, I know with me at least, when I get to a point, I think of something else. I'm like, ugh. And then I decide I'd rather play a game than make a game.
And I've gone through that with this game. And ultimately, and you'll see the play calling is very simple. There's defensive adjustments to the offensive result, but there's no pick a play, pick a defense, because I'm coming at this from a coaching standpoint.
You're not going to make a horrible call defensively.
I've coached 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I know if it's 3rd and 12, I'm not going to pick a freaking run defense, right?
Exactly.
So I'm incorporating into the engine the assumption that the defensive coordinator is making a call appropriate to what the offense is going to do based on down and distance. Because as coaches, we spend dozens of hours breaking down game film and getting tendencies. So I want that to be seamless, not, roll and, okay, I'm blitzing here and it's, or better yet, I'm playing prevent defense and it's 2nd 2. Nobody does that, right?
Exactly.
So I'm taking that piece out of the game, and I want that to be intuitive and incorporated into the basic engine. Now,
will you be able? Will it just be solitaire play, or can you play against another person?
You can play head to head. The thing there.
Most people do play these games solitaire. I'm just saying, but
and that's the thing. It's primarily going to be based solitaire.
Yep.
Like Glory Days boxing, you can play head to head, but. And if you utilize like the strategy cards, that's for another.
One of these days we have to do a show on that because
that'd be fun.
Because
fight and use strategy.
Because I've talked about it before, and I don't think, and even you've done videos on the strategy cards because I've watched them. I've gone back and watched them, but I think we should do one just to show how to use them again. I honestly have not used them because I play solitaire and I just. I've got to and we'll real quick, and we'll go back to the college thing, and we'll end the stream. I've got to use the generic judges too. I'm just, you still have it, and it's one less thing for me to not mess up. But sometimes I like to use the always adventurous Adelaide Bird because she has some really unique scoring, and you sit there and you go, "Wow, she's just as awful with the dice rolls." She's like, but.
Yeah, and I always use generic judges for testing, especially. So it's fun to put that human element in once in a while.
But thank you for sharing us with the college, and I really look forward to adding another wrestling game to my collection when that crosses your paths, because
and wrestling will be very much like Glory Days boxing.
And see, that's right, because that's what I expect. And I can't wait to see the event chart.
There will be an event chart. There'll be a feud chart and a storyline chart. So
Awesome.
I'll add a couple more charts to that.
I tell you what I enjoy about wrestling games, and we'll end it, and we'll give you the final floor. I'm the territory guy. I'm the promoter. I can do whatever. I can make a guy, he might say heel on his card. Well, you know what? He could be a fan favorite in my eyes. And it's just what I like about wrestling games. It's imagination. You're writing fiction, and it's fun. And just like with Glory Days Boxing, when you do what if matchups, you're the promoter, you're the matchmaker. And with Glory Days Boxing, you can make any type of match you want. You can do pound for pound. You can, again, Muhammad Ali versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. Take the weight class out and just go talent. You can do whatever you want. You can play. There's enough fighters in there. You can pretty much Joe Louis. You can go, if you want to do a lot of Joe Louis, just replay his title defenses. Larry Holmes. One of the fun things I like to do offline, I'll take a champion. I'll take everyone he defended against. I've been doing it with Larry Holmes fought, right? But they fight Joe Louis. So I take all those, and I do it offline. And I've done quite a few fights. I posted the results. I haven't done them in a while, but I've posted them in the Facebook group page. And that's a lot of fun. That's another great thing. That's growing. Facebook group page is growing. Yeah. And it's a great place to ask questions. So, and remember, Glory Days Boxing can be purchased at sidelinestrategy.com. Link provided in the chat and on the page. Anthony's YouTube channel is Bleacher Bums Gaming. Link provided in the chat and on the page. Anthony, the floor is yours.
No, I think we covered everything. I wanted to talk a little bit about the college game, actually, so I'm glad that came up. But, future plans for Glory Days Boxing already out there. So, again, just appreciate the support of the game and everyone who participates in the community as well. I think we have a really solid community there. A lot of fun.
And with that, thank you very much to everyone. Hope you enjoyed the chat. We'll have Anthony on again. We always love to have Anthony on. I'd have him on every night, but I think his wife and Nurse Teresa would kill me. So other than that, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate your time. Stay safe, be smart, treat people the way you want to be treated. Free Pepe Le Pew. He's never done anything to you. And, of course, God bless and peace.